Alright folks, strap in for the rest of this bone-chilling tale. I've translated the full text you provided, keeping the spooky vibe and storytelling style natural for an American audience. This is a long one, packed with twists and turns. So grab your Wi-Fi and settle in. I'll pick up where we left off and carry through to the end, staying true to the creepy, immersive tone. Let's dive back into the nightmare. The man dipped his brush in red ink and started painting strange symbols on Mum's swollen belly. After she drank the black water, she gagged, vomiting a pool of dark blood. Her belly shrank a bit, and the baby inside finally stopped kicking. The man lit a cigarette, stepped outside, and started talking to Dad. I couldn't hear much, but it sounded like they were haggling over the price. Dad, stubborn as ever, wouldn't budge on whatever the man was asking. The man stubbed out his cigarette, glanced back at our house, shook his head, and waved me over. I jogged to his side, and he made a shushing gesture. In a low voice, he asked, "Has anyone in your family died recently?" I nodded, my throat tight. "Yeah, my little sister, Lily, died 7 days ago." He nodded thoughtfully, then asked, "How'd she die?" I told him everything about that awful day, how Dad took her to town, how he came back with her body covered in blood, everything except the part about finding her head in the pot. I was too scared Dad would beat me again. The man's face darkened. "You all eat any meat lately?" I hesitated, then nodded. He gave a bitter laugh, muttering, "This village is cursed, plain and simple." He patted my back, glanced at Emma, and said, "Tonight, you two go to bed early. No matter what happens, do not open your eyes. Got it? Do not open them." Emma and I nodded like obedient kids, saying in unison, "Got it." He took one last look at the house, shook his head again, and left. That night, Emma fell asleep. Fast, but I couldn't. The man's words kept me wide awake, my heart pounding. It was summer, so we didn't have blankets, and I curled up on the bed, hugging my knees. Hours passed, I don't know how many, when a sudden gust of wind roared. Outside, the trees rustled like crazy, and the windows rattled. A cold chill filled the room, and I hugged my arms tighter, burying my face in my chest, chanting to myself, "Don't open your eyes, don't open your eyes." The wind died down, but the chill didn't. Then, knock, 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 the sound nearly stopped my heart. I clutched my head, eyes squeezed shut, as the knocking grew faster, more desperate. "Mom, Dad, open the door. It's Lily." Her voice was so clear, so real, it made my blood run cold. I held my breath, barely daring to move. Brother, sister, Mum, and Dad won't let me in. "Please, open the door. It's so cold out here. Please, let me in." Tears streamed down my face. I missed Lily so much. She was sweet, always listened, but she was dead. I saw her die. I saw her head in that pot. I covered my ears, trying to block her voice, too scared to check on Emma. Finally, the knocking stopped. The silence was worse, heavy and suffocating. Then I heard footsteps, soft, like bare feet on our dirt floor. They got closer and stopped right beside me. "Brother, it's Lily. Wanna play with me?" My body shook uncontrollably. Her voice was right in my ear, so close I felt my hair stand on end. "Brother, why won't you talk to me? I'm your favorite sister. Come play with me. I'm so lonely. I'm scared. I wanna come home." Then, something I scolded brushed my foot. I curled my toes, sobbing, but kept my eyes shut tight. I was terrified of her ghost, of seeing that head again. The footsteps moved away, heading toward Emma's side of the bed. Sister, brother won't play with me. Will you play with me? My heart leaped when I heard Emma mumble, okay. I wanted to scream, Emma, no. Don't open your eyes. But I was frozen. Sister, wake up. I'm so cold. Hug me, please. Emma stirred beside me. Lily, is that you? I miss you so much, she said, her voice sleepy but full of love. I felt her sit up, then heard her get out of bed. Lily, let's go somewhere fun, Emma said, and I heard her footsteps follow Lily's out of the room. Lily's steps faded, but Emma's kept going. The cold vanished, and crickets chirped. Outside, everything felt normal again, but I still didn't dare open my eyes. I stayed like that, trembling, until sunlight crept into the room. The first thing I did was check Emma's bed. Empty panic hit me like a freight train. I ran to Dad, who was still asleep, and shook him awake, screaming, Emma's gone. Mum, too weak to move, looked terrified. Dad got up, and we searched everywhere her favorite spots, the neighbors' houses. By noon, a villager came running, saying they'd found her. We followed him for an hour to a ravine, and there she was, Emma dead, covered in blood, just like Lily had been. Back home, Mum's belly swelled again, just like the day before, veins bulging purple. Dad laid Emma's body under the eaves, covered her with a sheet, and sent me to fetch the midwife. When we got back, Mum's belly had cracks, like it was about to burst. The midwife took one look and yelled at Dad to get Mum to the hospital for a C-section. Dad hesitated. Town was 30 miles away. A 2-hour walk, impossible with Mum in this state. Before he could decide, Mum let out a scream that used every ounce of her strength. Her belly split open, and a black, furry hand reached. I froze, horrified. Dad screamed Mom's name, but backed away. The thing crawled out a baby with Lily's face, covered in black fur. It bit through its own umbilical cord, looked at us, and grinned, a smile that made my skin crawl. The midwife fainted on the spot. As we stood there, helpless, a familiar figure appeared at the door, the man from yesterday, leading a black goat. Dad begged him to save Mum. The man glanced at Emma's body, then at the creature on the bed, muttering under his breath. He checked Mum's pulse, shook his head, and carried the creature to the main room. Placing it on a table under the ancestral shrine, he set up 2 small incense burners in front of the creature, lit 2 sticks of incense, and placed them in the burners. Kid, tie the goat to the door, he said. I did it fast. He pulled out a bundle of red string, tied slip knots around each incense stick, and stretched the strings to the goat's horns. Hold the goat steady, he told me. I stood behind it, keeping its head facing the house. He grabbed a pair of iron gongs, chanting something I couldn't understand, then struck them behind the creature. The red strings sagged, like something heavy was pulling them toward the goat. Halfway, they stopped, almost snapping back. He chanted louder, struck the gongs again, and sprinkled dirt along the strings. The sagging moved closer to the goat, then vanished. The goat let out a wail, its pupils shrinking to slits. The man painted strange symbols on it with red ink, then tied it in the sun. He checked the creature again. Dead, he said to Dad, who stared blankly, saying nothing. Dad went to Mum, wiping her body silently. I looked at her lifeless form and asked, "What about Mum?" The man's face twitched. "She's gone too," he said, touching my back. I collapsed by her bed, screaming her name. In just days, Lily, Emma, and Mum were gone. I was only a kid, but I knew Dad had something to do with it. I hated him for it. Neighbors gathered, and Dad covered Mum with a white cloth. They suggested burying her and Emma, but the man stopped them. "You can't bury them right away," he said, lighting a pipe. "When someone dies, their soul doesn't know it's dead. It lingers in the body. If you don't guide it out, it'll haunt you." The village elders, superstitious as hell, nodded. They told Dad to let the man perform a ritual. Dad, still dazed, mumbled, "No money." The man sighed, shook his head, and got to work. He cleared the main room, set up 2 high stools, and had Mum and Emma's bodies placed on them, warning they couldn't touch the ground. He lit oil lamps under the stools and told me to keep them burning. He tied red strings to Mum, Emma, and the creature's left feet, connecting them to an incense burner on a table outside, loaded with offerings and paper money. The ritual took hours. By evening, he brought the goat inside, lit 3 candles and 3 incense sticks around it, and stuffed rice into its mouth. The goat didn't move, like it was under a spell. He sprinkled sticky rice on the floor and sent the neighbors home. Dad knelt by Mum's body, motionless. I tended the lamps, then sat by the door. The man joined me, smoking his pipe. "Keep those lamps burning, kid. After tonight, you'll be fine." I nodded weakly. He knocked out his pipe and muttered, "What kind of bastard creates a custom like this? Eating people, monsters." I swallowed hard. "Is there really a ghost?" I asked. He looked at me. "Last night, you heard something, didn't you?" I nodded, spilling everything about Lily's voice and the knocking. He sighed. "She came for revenge. I told you not to open your eyes, but your sister did. Her death today, same as Lily's, same place. If I hadn't come, you'd all be dead." I shivered, too scared to ask more. He cut me off. "Check the lamps." I ran inside, tended them, and came back to find him asleep in my bed. Dad and I kept watch all night. I fought to stay awake, the smell of incense thick in the air. Around midnight, a breeze turned into a howling wind, shaking the trees. The lamps flickered, nearly going out. I grabbed some cardboard to shield them, heart racing. Then the red strings on Emma and the creature's feet started trembling. I backed against the wall, watching in terror. Mum's string stayed still. The wind grew stronger, targeting Emma's lamp. I dove to the floor, shielding it with my body. The string on Emma's foot sagged, like something was walking along it. The creature's string did the same, but it looked like something was crawling. The wind fought to snuff the lamps, but I held firm. Emma's string sagged to the outdoor burner. Then a wisp of smoke rose and vanished in the moonlight. The creatures followed, turning to smoke. The wind stopped. I stood, dusting myself off, checking for anything strange. Dad hadn't moved, still kneeling by Mum. I wondered why Mum's string hadn't budged. From the ritual, I guessed the sagging was the ghosts moving to the burner, the smoke their departure. But Mum's ghost didn't show. Then another gust hit. I braced myself, thinking, this is Mum. Her lamp, shielded by Dad's body, stayed steady. Her string trembled. Suddenly, Dad's head snapped up, his eyes hollow, staring at Mum's feet. He reached out, pinched the lamp's flame, and put it out. "No," I shouted, but it was too late. The wind roared, ripping the cloth off Mum's body. Her pale face stared at me, eyes wide open. I screamed, stumbling back. Dad turned, a sinister grin spreading across his face. "Sam, Mum misses you. Come with her," he said, his voice raspy. I shook my head, crying, collapsing against the wall. He stepped closer, reaching for me. Just as his hand grazed me, a crack rang out, and he fell. "Don't worry, kid, I'm here," said the man, standing over Dad with a stern look. I wiped my tears, grateful. The man frowned, pulling out red string and wrapping Dad tight. Strangely, Dad couldn't break free, no matter how hard he struggled. The man dug out a lump of yellow clay, told me to wet it with my pee, and mixed it with red powder. He pressed it to Dad's forehead, chanting. White smoke rose from Dad's head. The man lit a yellow charm and held it above him. A flash of light sparked, and Dad's hollow eyes softened. He collapsed, lifeless. "Feed him dew at dawn." "He'll wake," the man said, placing Dad on a bench. I sniffled. "What's your name?" I asked. "Sam Skinner, right? I'm Hushoa. Call me Uncle Hu," I nodded. "Thank you, Uncle Hu." He grinned, showing yellowed teeth. "Wanna learn my trade?" "Ghost catching." I froze, looking at him. "Ghost catching?" He laughed. "I'm a yin-yang master. Takes a strong fate to do this. You've got it. Wanna learn?" I shook my head. After everything, I couldn't think straight. "Think it over," he said. "Find me at Skywell Fire Shop if you change your mind." We talked until dawn. When the rooster crowed, I collected dew and fed it to Dad. He woke after half an hour, but he was a shell-nosed spark in his eyes. Neighbors came to help, an uncle who left with his goat, reminding me to find him if I needed him. I bowed as he walked away. Without him, I'd be dead. With the neighbors' help, we buried Mum and Emma. Dad knelt at Mum's grave, tears streaming. I hid nearby, sobbing. My family gone in days. Just me and Dad left, in a broken home, for 2 weeks. Dad visited Mum's grave daily, and I brought him home each evening. Then, one night, I woke to shouting outside. A burning smell hit me. I ran out and saw the living room engulfed in flames. I bolted to the main room, escaping through the door. Neighbors were already fighting the fire. "Sam's out," someone yelled. I stood, stunned, watching my home burn. "Where's your dad?" a man asked, splashing water. I stammered, "I don't know. They found him later dead in the fire. I don't know who set it, but I think it was Dad. He'd been saying he wanted to join Mum. Now he had, leaving me alone at 8 years old. The next day, I borrowed a shovel, dug a pit by Mum's grave, and buried Dad without a coffin. I carved Tom's grave on a wooden board, burned paper money for Mum, Dad, Emma, Lily, and the baby, and cried until my voice gave out. The sky darkened, thunder rolled, and rain poured, the first rain I'd ever seen in our drought-cursed village. Villagers cheered, but I wept. This rain felt like it fell for me. Soaked to the bone, I walked out of the village, not knowing where to go. I just kept moving, not caring if it led to mountains, cliffs, life, or death. I walked for hours, maybe days, until the rain stopped. I found myself in town, 30 miles from home, standing in a bustling street. People chatted about the rain, some saying it was the first in a decade. I wandered to a small square with a well, Skywell, they called it. Whose shop, Skywell Fire Shop, stood nearby, its door shut tight. Too shy to knock, I sat outside, waiting. I slept there that night. The next afternoon, who appeared. "Sam, what are you doing here?" he asked, unlocking the door. I stammered, unable to explain. "Come inside," he said. I dusted myself off and followed. I told him everything: the fire, Dad's death, my loneliness. He sighed, silent for a long time, then said, "Life's cruel, kid. Don't dwell too much. Stay with me. I'll teach you a trade, make you my apprentice. How's that?" I nodded eagerly. I had no choice, even if I wasn't keen on his line. Of work, I had nowhere else to go. He smiled, went to a table with ancestral tablets, lit 3 incense sticks, bowed 3 times, and inserted them into a burner. "Kneel," he said. I dropped to my knees. Today, June 27th, by the lunar calendar, I, Hushuo, 46, no wife, no kids, take you, Sam Skinner, as my apprentice before the ancestors. I handed him tea, kowtowed twice, and called him master. Days turned to months. By day, master taught me to run his shop, selling ritual goods. At night, he taught me to read and write, showing me his collection of books, mostly on my ocean. Taoism, geomancy, and ghost catching. One day, he got a call and told me to close the shop. He packed his yellowed cloth bag with red string, grave dirt, cinnabar, and incense ash tools he said could save lives. "Rest up," he said. "Tomorrow, we're heading out." I was thrilled. Kids love adventure, and I couldn't wait. At dawn, we set off for a place called Narrow Ravine, a day's trek through mountains and forests. We arrived at a house, with yellow couplets on the door. The hosts had food ready, like they'd been waiting. We ate, the adults sipping liquor and chatting while I stuffed my face. After dinner, they brought out snacks and got to business. The host, Mr. Lin, explained his mother had died recently, buried about 10 days ago. A few nights back, she appeared. In his dreams, headless, begging him to find her head. At first, he thought it was just a nightmare, but it happened every night. Worse, his toddler grandson started crying non-stop, running a fever since the dreams began. He'd set up Chopsticks a ritual to check for spirits and confirmed his mother's ghost was after the kid. "Save my grandson, who? Money's no issue." Master cracked a sunflower seed, frowning. "Lin, your mother died of illness, right?" Mr. Lin nodded. "Then why's her ghost missing a head? That's a fragmented soul, a ghost with an incomplete body." The family gasped. "You mean her ghost's back?" Mr. Lin asked, pale. Master nodded, incomplete. "That's why she's asking for her head." "Where's the kid? Let me see him." They said he was asleep, so we agreed to check tomorrow. That night, I woke to crying. The whole family was in the living room, surrounding the toddler, who was screaming and flailing. "It started after the dreams," Mr. Lin said. Master nodded, then turned to me. "Sam, grab a yellow paper, some cinnabar, and the compass." I fetched them. He held the compass near the kid, and the needle spun wildly. He tore a small piece of yellow paper, smeared it with cinnabar, and had the family hold the kid still. The boy thrashed, roaring, but they pinned him. Master pressed the paper to his forehead, and a tiny wisp of smoke rose. The paper charred. "Ghost possession," Master said. The family panicked. "Can you save him?" Mr. Lin begged. Master asked for a peach tree. They had one outside. "Get some branches and leaves, boil them into water, and make him drink it," he said. They did, forcing the water down the kid's throat. Master handed me a mirror. "Hold it to his eyes." Then he struck an iron gong behind the boy's head. The kid froze, eyes wide, then passed out. He's fine, just sleeping, Master said. But this is temporary. We need to fix the root cause. The family was stunned, showering him with thanks. I was in awe Master wasn't some fraud. Back in our room, I couldn't sleep. How'd you do that? I asked. He explained, ghosts have magnetic fields detectable by a compass. The cinnabar paper tests for possession burns if a ghost's present. Peachwood water drives out evil, and the mirror makes ghosts see themselves, scaring them off. The gong's sound is their worst nightmare. Got it? He asked. I nodded, mind blown. What's a fragmented soul? I asked. He said, normal souls are whole unless the body's incomplete at death. But Mr. Lin said his mum's body was intact. So why's her ghost headless? Something's off. The next morning, the kid was bouncing around, and the family was overjoyed, thinking it was over. Master shook his head. The ghost could come back. We need to check her grave. We went to the cemetery. Master grabbed a handful of dirt, sniffed it, and said, someone's tampered with this grave. Mr. Lin was shocked. Impossible. She was buried days ago, Master insisted. If you don't believe me, we can dig it up. The family balked. Disturbing a grave was bad luck. Master offered another way. Let her tell us herself. He asked for a personal item of the deceased. They brought her old clothes. Master set up a circle of candles, wrapped them with red string, sprinkled incense ash, and placed an oil lamp in the center. He tore a piece of her clothes, made a paper figure, wrote on it, and burned both, chanting. When the lamp flickered, out, he said, the dead have spoken. Her body's been disturbed. Mr. Lin still couldn't believe it. Who'd dig up my mom's grave? For what? Master asked if they'd had any disputes. No, Mr. Lin said. Everyone in narrow ravine gets along. Master was skeptical, but said, the dead don't lie. Let's open the coffin. They agreed, setting the exhumation for the next afternoon. Master picked the time from an almanac. The next day, they raised quilts to block the sun, and Master, in his Taoist robe, chanted and scattered paper money. At 1 p.m., they dug after. Half an hour, they reached the coffin. Master checked the quilts, ensuring no sunlight hit it, then ordered it opened. The stench hit first. People gagged, some vomited. I peeked inside and froze a rotting, headless corpse. Mr. Lin's wife sobbed, who'd do this to my mum? Mr. Lin cursed, whoever did this will pay. Master chanted, then said, cover the coffin. Sprinkle it with dirt from a grave over 5 years old to keep other ghosts out. We need to find her head. They scrambled to follow his orders. That night, Mr. Lin asked, what now? We can't. Bury her like this. Master sipped tea. Tomorrow, we'll use a butterfly to guide us to her soul. At dawn, Master set up an altar in their main room. He cut a white paper butterfly, threaded it on a string, and hung it on a bamboo pole. Sam, stick this outside the door, he said. I wedged it in the doorframe. He made a yellow soul-calling banner and hung it inside, out of the sun. He lit 3 incense sticks, placed them behind the deceased's photo and belongings, and wrote a letter with her birth details, sealing it in an envelope. We waited in silence. After half an hour, butterflies landed on the pole. Master burned the letter and some paper charms. A cold wind blew, shaking the banner. He grabbed the pole, guiding the butterflies to the altar. They sat still. He wrapped the deceased's belongings in paper, burned them, and painted a mark on a butterfly's wing with the ashes. It flew to the photo, then out the door. "Follow it," Master shouted. Mr. Lin led the charge, and we chased the butterfly for 10 minutes. It stopped at a concrete house I'd seen before. It perched on the gate. Mr. Lin pounded on the door. An old man, about 70, opened it. Wang Gang's dad. "What's this about, Zhang?" he snapped. Mr. Lin accused Wang of digging up his mum's grave and stealing her head. The old man laughed, calling it nonsense. "Wang's a good kid. He wouldn't do that." They argued until the old man invited us inside, still glaring at Mr. Lin. Over tea, Master explained the butterfly ritual. The old man frowned but swore Wang couldn't have done it. He's sick, in the city for treatment. Started acting strange a few days ago, saying he saw a headless ghost in the mirror, having nightmares, bad luck. Master leaned forward. "That's her ghost. It's at your house." He asked if Wang had met anyone odd. The old man shook his head. "He's shy, sticks to work." Master rubbed his chin, deep in thought. Master Hu sat back, sipping his tea, his eyes narrowing, as he studied the old man. If Wang's not the culprit, then something else is at play here. A headless ghost doesn't just wander into someone's house for no reason. The old man, still defensive, shrugged. "I don't know what to tell you. Who? My boys know. Grave robber. He's been sick, out of sorts, and now he's in the city getting help. That's all I know." Mr. Lin, red-faced and fuming, wasn't buying it. "Then why's my mother's ghost haunting your house? You expect me to believe?" "It's a coincidence." The old man glared back. "You watch your tone, Zhang. I've got no reason to lie. If you're so sure, go find Wang yourself. He's at the city hospital." Master, who raised a hand, cutting through the tension. "Enough. Fighting won't solve this. Sam, where?" "Heading to the city. We need to talk to Wang." I nodded, my stomach twisting. The idea of chasing a ghost's head across the province wasn't exactly my idea of fun, but I was in too deep now. We left the old man's house, Mr. Lin still muttering curses under his breath. The next morning, Master and I caught a rickety bus to the city. The hospital was a grim, grey building, smelling of antiseptic and despair. Wang was in a ward, pale and sunken-eyed, hooked up to an IV. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. When he saw us, his eyes widened, but he didn't speak. Master pulled up a chair, his voice calm but firm. "Wang, we're here about Mrs. Lin's grave. Her ghosts. Been showing up at your house, headless. Know anything about that?" Wang's hands shook. I didn't touch her grave, I swear. But..." He hesitated, glancing around like something might be listening. "A few nights ago, I woke up to a noise in the bathroom. When I checked, I saw it in the mirror head, just floating there, staring at me. No body, just her face, pale and angry. I've been seeing it every night since. It's why I'm here. I thought I was losing my mind." Master leaned forward. "Did you take anything from the cemetery? Even something small?" Wang shook his head frantically. "No, I don't mess with graves. I'm not that kind of guy." Master studied him, then pulled out his compass. The needle spun wildly, even in the sterile hospital room. "She's here," Master muttered. "Her head's soul is tied to you somehow." I swallowed hard, remembering the pot in our kitchen. The head staring up at me. "Master, could someone have moved her head, like taken it somewhere?" He nodded slowly. "Possible. If her head was separated, the soul could split, part staying with the body, part with the head. That's why she's asking for it. We left Wong, who was practically begging us to make the visions stop. On the bus back, Master was quiet, deep in thought. Sam, he finally said, this isn't just a grave robbery. Someone's using that head for something dark. We need to find it before the ghost takes more than just dreams. Back in Narrow Ravine, Master set up another ritual at the Lin family's house. This time, he used a black mirror, said to reflect the unseen. He burned incense, chanted, and sprinkled grave dirt around the mirror. If the head's been taken, this'll show us where, he said. I held my breath as the mirror clouded, then cleared, revealing a flickering imager, dark, damp room with a wooden table. On it sat a clay jar, and inside, Mrs. Lin's head, eyes wide open, staring straight at us. I stumbled back, heart pounding. Where is that? I gasped. Master's face was grim. It's close. That jar's got symbols on it, ritual markings. Someone's using her head for a curse or worse. He grabbed his bag. We're going hunting tonight. That night, we followed the mirror's clue to an abandoned shack on the edge of the village. The air was thick with the smell of rot and incense. Master tied a red string around my wrist, muttering a protective chant. Stay close, Sam. Whatever's in there isn't human. We crept inside, the compass needle spinning like crazy. In the corner, we found the jar from the mirror, surrounded by candles and strange carvings. Master opened it, and there it was, Mrs. Lin's head. Just like in the vision. Before we could move, the candles flared, and a cold laugh filled the room. You shouldn't have come, a voice hissed. The head's eyes moved, locking onto me. I froze, but Master was faster. He threw a handful of cinnabar powder, chanting loudly. The air screamed, and the head's eyes rolled back. Sam, the string, he shouted. I tied the red string round the jar, sealing it. The laughter stopped, and the room went still. We carried the jar back to the Lin family, who wept with relief and horror. Master performed a final ritual, reuniting the head's soul with the bodies in the coffin. The compass needle finally calmed. She's at peace now, Master said, but his eyes were troubled. Someone did this on purpose, Sam. This wasn't random. There's a yin-yang master out there, darker than me. Master whose words hung heavy in the air. A dark yin-yang master out there pulling strings from the shadows. The thought sent a shiver down my spine, but life didn't give me time to dwell. Weeks passed back at the Skywell fire shop, and I buried myself in Master's books, my ocean rituals, geomancy, ways to bind or banish spirits. I was still just a kid, barely 8, but the world I'd stumbled into was no place for the innocent. One autumn day, when the air turned crisp and the leaves crunched underfoot, Master got a call from out of province. A big shot client, voice dripping with urgency, needed help fast. Master was already booked, so he turned to me. Sam, you're ready for your first solo job. It's a hotel, 1,000 miles away. They say it's haunted. Clients offering good money. You in? My stomach flipped. Solo, me. But the promise of cash and proving myself won out. I'm in, I said, trying to sound braver than I felt. The client wired half the payment up front and covered my plane ticket. First time flying, and let me tell you, soaring through the clouds felt like tempting fate. I clutched my bag packed with red string, cinnabar, grave dirt, and a new compass master gave me praying I wouldn't need it all. The client, a slick hotel chain owner named Mr. Zhao, picked me up at the airport and put me up in a fancy room. Rest up, kid, he said. We'll head to the site tomorrow. On the drive the next day, Xiao filled me in. He'd bought a run-down hotel in the city's heart, planning to renovate and reopen it. The problem was, it had a ghostly history. Locals say it's cursed, he said, shrugging like, it was no big deal. Just clean it up for me and name your price. His casual tone didn't fool me. If it was so simple, why was he hiring a kid from nowhere? We pulled up to the hotel, a looming, standalone building surrounded by a garden. That looked more like a graveyard. Even in daylight, it radiated wrongness, like the city's bustle couldn't touch it. I stepped toward the fence, compass in hand, and the needle went berserk, spinning like it was possessed. Even 50 yards from the building, my heart sank. Whatever was in there wasn't some lost soul looking for peace. I was angry, powerful. Turned to Xiao. I need to talk to someone who works here. Someone who knows what happened. He didn't blink, just made a call. By the next day, he'd tracked down Yao Qianing, a former manager, mid-30s, sharp and poised. We met at my hotel, and she didn't waste time. You're young for this line of work, she said, eyeing me. But if you're here to fix that place, listen closely. She leaned in, her voice low. 5 years ago, I started at that hotel. Not long after, a girl, maybe 20, killed herself in room 8404, dressed in a red skirt, clutching a doll her boyfriend gave her. Jumped out the window. They said she was heartbroken her boyfriend cheated, even stayed in that room with the other woman. The media ate it up. We paid the family compensation, but they demanded millions. When we refused, they caused a scene, protests, banners, even held a funeral in the lobby. The worst part, they buried her ashes under an old locust tree in the back garden and refused to move them. I nodded, my mind racing. Ashes under a tree. That's a recipe for a restless spirit. What else? I asked. It got worse, Yao said. Not long after, a tourist, a big guy, drowned in the bathtub in room 8504. Right above 8404, a 6-foot man drowned in a tub. Explains that. The police called it suicide, but I didn't buy it. Then a family of 3 died in 8504. Husband stabbed his wife and kid, then himself. No motive, happy family, and the last one. She shivered. I was on rounds when I heard screams from room 8505. I opened the door with my master key and found a guest hanging off the bed. Head smashed against the wall, blood everywhere. No one smashes their own skull like that. And as I ran to call the cops, I swear I saw a red shadow at the end of the hall. The hotel shut down after that. I felt cold sweat on my neck. 4 deaths, all tied to that girl's ghost. One more thing, Yao added. Your client. He's not telling you everything. He hired another Taoist before you. Guy went in to exorcise the place and came out raving mad. Be careful, kid, this isn't a game. I thanked her, my mind spinning. Zhao had left out the part about the last guy losing his mind. Typical businessman, hiding the real risks. I called Master, laying out the situation. Don't do it, Sam, he said, his voice stern. That ghost's got too much resentment. You're not ready, but I knew he'd say that. I also knew I wasn't backing out, not with Xiao dangling a fortune. If you're set on it, Master sighed, bring a black dog, a rooster, and put rice grains on your forehead. Protective charms, too, and don't break the rules. I could hear the worry in his voice. He'd retired from this life, and giving advice broke his own code. I thanked him, my chest tight Joe called, begging me to take the job. Double the pay, he said. I stayed silent, triple silence, 4 times. 10 grand, my resolve crumbled. 10 grand, for a kid like me. I was in, I hit the market buying a fierce-looking black dog. A big rooster, sticky rice, and fresh cinnabar for charms. I checked my gear twice, peachwood sword, copper coin sword, compass, the works. Following master's advice, I stuck rice, grains on my forehead and hung a new protective charm around my neck. I wasn't taking chances, with the dog on a leash and the rooster under my arm. I strode through the hotel's gates, trying to look tougher than I felt. A cold wind hit me at the entrance, and the dog started barking like mad. Black dogs see what humans can't, and this one was losing it. I gripped the leash tighter and stepped inside. The hotel was dark, power long cut, the air heavy with a chill that didn't belong in daylight. I climbed the stairs to the 4th floor, where it all started, room 8404. The hallway stretched out, doors ajar, like the place was waiting for me. Then I heard it, a woman sobbing, soft but clear, coming from 8404. I crept closer, heart hammering. The door was open. There, on the windowsill, sat a girl in a red skirt, clutching a doll, her face buried in it, crying. I froze. She lifted. Her head and our eyes met. Her face was pale, her gaze hollow. A twisted smile curled her lips, and she tipped backward, falling out the window. I yelled, running to look. Below, she lay in a pool of blood, staring up at me with that same sick grin. My skin crawled. I spun around, realizing the dog and rooster were gone. What the? I muttered, searching the hall. Nothing. Then, a noise from the next room. I glanced at the door 8504. My blood ran cold. 8504 was on the 5th floor, not here. Curiosity got the better of me, and I stepped inside. The sound came from the bathroom. I slid the door open and nearly screamed. A burly man was face down in a filled bathtub, hands clawing at the edges, struggling to lift his head. It was like something was holding him under. He thrashed, then went still. His head rose from the water, bloated and pale. He turned, grinning at me. I stumbled back, bolting from the room. Yao's story echoed in my head. The guy drowned in 8504's tub. I'd just seen it happen. Before I could catch my breath, another sound came from the next roommate, 1505. I knew what was coming, but couldn't stop myself. I peeked inside. A family of 3 stood in a line. The man, face blank, held a fruit knife. He knelt, raised it, and stabbed his wife, then his kid, over and over, mechanical like a puppet. Blood pooled. He stood, looked at me, and smiled. Then he plunged the knife into his chest, stabbing himself until he collapsed, still grinning. I backed away, shaking. He appeared at the door, knife raised, lunging at me. I kicked him hard, slammed the door, and leaned against it, gasping. The ghost was replaying her murders, dragging me into her nightmares. Another sound, thud, thud, thud from the next room. I looked, room 8505, again. I peered in and saw a woman, hair wild, smashing her head against the wall. Blood sprayed. Then chunks of something white, like tofu. Her skull cracked and she fell, hanging off the bed, brains and blood pooling on the floor. I gagged, retching against the wall. I turned, ready to run, when I felt it ties on my back. I glanced over my shoulder and screamed. The dead were behind me, the girl, the drowned man, the family. The woman with the crushed skull staring, their faces twisted with malice. They lunged. I ran, heart pounding, their footsteps thundering behind me. I didn't know where I was going, just that I had to get out. My feet pounded the hotel's dusty floorboards, the air thick with the stench of rot, and something sweeter, like burnt incense, gone wrong. The ghosts were right behind me, the girl in the red skirt, the drowned man, the stabbed family, the woman with the crushed skull, their footsteps echoing like a death knell. I could feel their cold breath on my neck, their hollow eyes boring into me. My compass was useless, its needle spinning wildly, and the rice grains on my forehead felt like they were burning into my skin. I tore down the hallway, my bag bouncing against my side, red string and cinnabar vials rattling. The black dog and rooster I'd brought were long gone, probably scared off, or worse. Don't look back, Sam, I told myself, but the urge was overwhelming. I stole a glance over my shoulder and regretted it instantly. The girl in the red skirt was leading the pack, her doll dangling from one hand. Her smile twisted and too wide, like her face was splitting. The others followed, their movements jerky, like puppets on frayed strings. The drowned man's bloated face dripped water that wasn't there, and the family's blood-soaked clothes left no stains on the floor. I hit the stairwell, taking steps 2 at a time, my lungs burning. The 4th floor was a maze of endless corridors, but I had to get to the lobby, to sunlight, to anything that wasn't this nightmare. The ghost's laughter filled the air, a sick chorus that made my ears ring. You can't leave, Sam, the girl's voice hissed, echoing from every direction. Stay with us, play with us. Her words crawled under my skin, and I stumbled, catching myself on the railing. At the bottom of the stairs, I saw the lobby, its glass doors glinting with faint daylight. Hope surged, but as I sprinted toward it, the doors slammed shut. No one touched them. I skidded to a stop, yanking at the handles. Locked, I pounded on the glass, screaming for anyone outside, but the street was empty. Behind me, the ghosts closed in, their footsteps slowing to a deliberate, taunting pace. I spun around, back pressed against the door, and fumbled in my bag for anything useful. My hand closed around the copper coin Swordmaster had given me. It wasn't much, but it was all I had. I held the sword up, its coins jingling faintly. Stay back, I shouted, my voice cracking. The ghosts paused, their heads tilting in unison like they were sizing me up. The girl stepped forward, her red skirt swaying, the doll's glass eyes glinting. You think that toy can stop me? She whispered, her voice dripping with venom. You're just a boy. You don't belong here. I didn't wait for her to make a move. I grabbed a vial of cinnabar, popped the cork, and flung it at her. The red powder hit her face, and she screamed a sound that shook the walls, like 1,000 voices crying out at once. The other ghosts flinched, their forms flickering like bad TV static. I seized the moment, pulling out a yellow paper charm and a lighter. My hands shook as I lit it, chanting the only banishing spell I could remember from Master's books. By the order of the heavens, spirits depart, return to the void. The charm flared, and I threw it at the floor between us. The air exploded. With heat and light, the ghosts staggered back, their forms dissolving into wisps of black smoke. But the girl in the red skirt stood her ground, her smile fading into a snarl. "You can't banish me," she hissed. "This is my place." She lunged, her hand outstretched, nails black and sharp. I swung the coin sword, and it connected, sending a jolt through my arm. She shrieked, pulling back, but I knew it wouldn't hold her long. I turned to the door, desperate, and remembered Master's words. Peachwood drives out evil. I dropped to my knees, digging through my bag for the Peachwood sword. My fingers closed around it just as the girl's cold hand grazed my shoulder. I spun, thrusting the sword forward, and she recoiled, her face twisting in pain. "Leave me alone," I yelled, driving the sword toward her again. The other ghosts were gone, but she was stronger, her resentment like a weight pressing down on me. The lobby grew darker, the daylight outside fading like someone had thrown a blanket over the sun. The girl's form flickered, growing taller, her red skirt billowing like it was caught in a storm. "You'll die here, Sam," she said, her voice no longer human, more like a growl from something ancient. I backed up, clutching the peach wood sword, my mind racing for a plan. Then I remembered Yao's story, the ashes under the locust tree. That's where her power was anchored. If I could destroy them, maybe I could end this. I bolted for the back door, praying it wasn't locked. The girl's laughter followed, chilling my blood, but I didn't stop. I burst into the garden, the air heavy with the smell of damp earth and decay. The locust tree loomed ahead, gnarled and twisted, its roots bulging like they were trying to crawl out of the ground. I dropped to my knees, digging with my hands, the peachwood sword tucked under my arm. The dirt was loose, like someone had been here recently, and soon I hit something harder, small clay urn, etched with faded symbols. I grabbed it, my hand shaking, and smashed it against the tree. Ashes spilled out, grey and powdery, mixing with the dirt. The girl's scream pierced the air, so loud it knocked me flat. The ground shook, and the tree's branches thrashed like they were alive. I scrambled back, clutching the sword, as her form appeared in front of me, flickering wildly. "You can't destroy me," she roared, her face half melted, one eye dangling from its socket. I grabbed a handful of grave dirt from my bag and threw it at her, chanting Master's spell again. The dirt hit her, and she convulsed, her body breaking apart into black smoke. The shaking stopped. The air cleared, and sunlight poured back into the garden. I sat there, panting, covered in dirt and sweat, the peachwood sword still in my hand. The urn's ashes were scattered, and the tree looked normal, just an old locust tree baking in the sun. My compass, lying in the dirt, had stopped spinning, its needle steady for the first time since I'd arrived. I stumbled back to the hotel, exhausted but alive. Xiao was waiting outside, his face pale. "You did it?" he asked, like he couldn't believe it. I nodded, too tired to talk. He handed me an envelope stuffed with cash 10 grand, as promised. "Kid, you're something else," he said, clapping my shoulder. I didn't feel like a hero. I felt like I'd barely escaped with my life. Back at the Skywell fire shop, I told the master everything. He listened quietly, puffing on his pipe, then shook his head. "You got lucky, Sam. That ghost was fueled by pure resentment. You broke her anchor, but she's not gone for good. Spirits like that, they linger." He paused, his eyes distant. "And that dark Yanyang master, they're still out there, watching. You've made an enemy." I swallowed hard, the weight of his words settling in. I was just a kid, but I'd stepped into a world of shadows and grudges. The hotel job was my first, but it wouldn't be my Last, Master handed me a new book, its pages yellowed and brittle. "Study this," he said. "You'll need it for what's coming." Back at the Skywell fire shop, the weight of the hotel job clung to me like damp rot. I'd survived, sure, but sleep was a lost cause. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the girl in the red skirt, her twisted smile, or the drowned man's bloated face. The 10 grand from Zhao sat heavy in my pocket, but it didn't feel like a victory. Master whose warning about the dark yen. Master kept me on edge, like I was waiting for a shadow to step out of the walls. The shop was quiet that week. The only sounds were the crackle of incense and the occasional customer buying paper money for ancestral rites. Master was teaching me more Myotian rituals, how to draw protective charms, how to read a compass for spirit tracers, but his lessons felt urgent, like he was preparing me for something he wouldn't name. "You're not a kid anymore, Sam," he'd say, puffing his pipe. "You've seen what's out there. It's time to get serious." One rainy afternoon, as thunder rumbled outside, a woman burst into the shop, soaked and shaking. Her name was Mrs. Chen, mid-40s, with dark circles under her eyes that made her look half dead. "Master Hu, you've got to help me," she pleaded, clutching a cloth bag. "It's my daughter, May. She's not herself." Master raised an eyebrow, gesturing for her to sit. I poured tea, my ears perked for every word. Mrs. Chun's story spilled out in a rush. A month ago, May, her 16-year-old daughter, started acting strange after a school trip to an old temple in the hills. She'd come home with a small, cracked hand mirror she found there, refusing to let it go. "She stares into it for hours," Mrs. Chen said, her voice trembling. "At night, she talks to it, whispering, laughing. But it's not her laugh." And last week, she choked back a sob. I saw her reflection in that mirror. It wasn't May. It was someone else, a woman with long hair, smiling in a way that made my blood run cold. Master's face darkened. He leaned forward, tapping his pipe. "Where's this mirror now?" Mrs. Chen pulled it from her bag, wrapped in red cloth. Even through the fabric, I felt a chill, like the air around it was wrong. Master didn't touch it. "Sam, get the black box from the back," he said. I fetched the lacquered box we used for cursed objects, and he slid the wrapped mirror inside, sealing it with a red paper charm. "This stays locked until we know what we're dealing with," he said. That night, Master set up a ritual in the shop's back room. He drew a circle of salt and incense ash on the floor, placed the black box in the center, and lit 4 oil lamps at the corners. "Sam, you're watching, not touching," he warned. I nodded, gripping my compass, which was already twitching. He chanted, low and rhythmic, holding a peachwood wand. The lamps flickered, and the air grew heavy, like a storm was brewing inside the room. He unwrapped the mirror, keeping it face down, and sprinkled cinnabar across its back. The compass. Needles spun wildly, and I swear I heard a faint giggle from the box. Master didn't flinch. He struck an iron gong, the sound sharp enough to make my teeth ache. The giggle turned into a scream, then silence. He flipped the mirror over, and I caught a glimpse of its surface dark, like it was filled with ink. "It's a spirit trap," he muttered. "Someone bound a ghost to this mirror, and it's latched onto May." He asked Mrs. Chen for details about the temple. She said it was abandoned, rumored to be a place where a woman was sacrificed decades ago, her spirit sealed in a mirror to curse her enemies. "We're going to that temple," Master said. Sam packed the bag extra cinnabar, red string, and the copper coin sword. This isn't a simple haunting. I swallowed hard, the hotel job still fresh in my mind. But I wasn't backing out. Mrs. Chen begged to come along, and Master reluctantly agreed, warning her to stay out of the way. The next morning, we took a bumpy bus ride to the hills, the temple looming like a forgotten tomb against the grey sky. Its roof was half collapsed, vines choking the stone walls. The air felt thick, like it was pushing us back. My compass went haywire before we even crossed the threshold. Inside, the temple was dark, the altar covered in dust and broken offerings. In the center stood a stone pedestal, empty except for a faint outline where a mirror might have sat. Master set up a new circle salt, grave dirt, and sticky rice this time. He placed the mirror on the pedestal, chanting softly, his wand tracing symbols in the air. Mrs. Chen clutched my arm, her nails digging in. "She's here," she whispered, pointing to the shadows. I followed her gaze and froze. A woman stood in the corner, her long hair covering her face, her body unnaturally still. My compass needle spun so fast it nearly snapped. "Master," I hissed, but he was already moving. He threw a handful of cinnabar at the figure, and she vanished, only to reappear behind us, closer. Her head tilted, revealing a face pale as bone, her eyes black pits. "You can't take me," she rasped, her voice like nails on stone. Master didn't answer. He struck the gong again, louder, and tied a red string round the mirror, looping it to the pedestal. The woman screamed, lunging at him, but the salt circle held, sparking where she hit it. "Sam, the sword," he shouted. I grabbed the copper-coined sword, my hands shaking, and swung it at the air where she stood. The coins clinked, and she recoiled, her form flickering. Master chanted faster, sprinkling grave dirt along the string. The mirror began to shake, cracks spreading across its surface. The woman's screams grew deafening, and I felt my ears pop, blood trickling down my neck. Mrs. Chen was sobbing, curled on the floor, but I kept swinging the sword, following Master's lead. With a final strike of the gong, the mirror shattered, glass exploding outward but stopping at the salt circle. The woman's form collapsed into black smoke, swirling into the broken shards. The temple went silent, the air lightening. My compass steadied, pointing north. Master wiped sweat from his brow, looking older than I'd ever seen him. "It's done," he said, but his voice was grim. "The spirit's gone, but someone set this trap. That dark master again." We returned to the shop, exhausted. Mrs. Chen reported May was back to normal, her daughter's laughter her own again. She paid Master handsomely, but he barely acknowledged it, his mind elsewhere. That night, he sat me down, his pipe unlit. "Sam, you did good, but you're not ready for what's out there. This dark master, they're playing a long game. The hotel, the mirror, they're connected. They're testing us." I nodded, my throat tight. I was just a kid, barely scraping by in a world of ghosts and curses, but I couldn't turn back. Master handed me a new charm, carved from peachwood, etched with symbols I didn't yet understand. "Keep this close," he said. "You'll need it for the next job." The Skywell fire shop felt like a sanctuary after the temple ordeal, but the air was heavy with unspoken warnings. Master, whose words about the dark yin-yang master echoed in my head, making every shadow seem alive. I was 8, barely tall enough to reach the shop's counter, yet I was already neck-deep in a world of spirits and grudges. Sleep was a distant memory. Every creak of the floorboards had me clutching the peachwood charm Master gave me. its carved symbols warm against my skin. A week later, as winter's chill crept into the city, a new client showed up, a wiry old man named Mr. Gao, his face etched with worry. He owned a small inn on the outskirts of town, near a village called Black Hollow. "Master Hu," he said, bowing low, "my inn's in trouble. Guests hear things at night, cries, like a baby, coming from the old well out back. Some see a woman in white standing by it. They're leaving, and my business is dying. Please, help." Master puffed his pipe, his eyes narrowing. A crying baby and a woman in white. Sounds like a lingering spirit, maybe a grudge. He glanced at me. "Sam, this one's yours. I'll supervise, but you're leading." My stomach dropped. Leading. After the hotel and the mirror, I wasn't sure I was ready, but Master's look told me there was no arguing. "Pack the bag," he said. "We leave tomorrow." I stuffed my bag with the usual red string, cinnabar, grave dirt, sticky rice. The copper coins soared, and a new addition, a small bronze bell, Master said, could disrupt a spirit's hold. Mr. Gao drove us to Black Hollow the next morning, the road winding through barren hills that looked like they'd never seen rain. The inn was a squat, weathered building, its paint peeling like dead skin. Behind it, in a patchy yard, stood the well old, its stone rim crumbling, covered in moss that looked too black, too alive. My compass twitched before we even got close. Mr. Gao led us to the well, his hands shaking. "It started a month ago," he said. "A guest, a young woman, stayed one night and vanished. Left her things behind a suitcase, a necklace with a jade pendant. The next day, the crying started. Then the sightings." He pointed to the well. "Always there, at midnight." Master nodded, circling the well, sniffing the air. "Sam, check the rim," he said. I knelt, running my fingers over the stone. It was cold, unnaturally so, and my compass needle spun like a top. I noticed faint scratcher symbols, barely visible, carved into the moss. "Ritual marks," Master muttered, squinting at them. "Someone's been here, binding something to this well." He turned to Mr. Gao. "You know anything about this place's history?" The old man hesitated, then sighed. "The village elders say a woman drowned herself here 50 years ago, pregnant, abandoned by her lover. They sealed the well after, but it was reopened when I bought the land. I thought it was just a story." Master's face was grim. "It's no story. That woman's spirit is trapped, and someone's using her pain." He glanced at me. "Sam, set up a circle around the well salt and sticky rice. We're doing this tonight." As dusk fell, the inn grew quiet, the other guests sent away for the night. Master and I worked fast, pouring a thick ring of salt and rice around the well, placing oil lamps at 4 points. I tied a red string from the well's rim to a small altar we set up nearby, topped with incense and a bowl of rice wine as an offering. Master handed me the bronze bell. "Ring it if things go south," he said. "It'll buy you time." Midnight came, and the air turned frigid. The lamps flickered, casting long shadows that seemed to move on their own. Then it started, a low, mournful wail, like a baby crying, rising from the well. My compass went wild, and I gripped the bell, my knuckles white. Master began chanting, his peachwood wand tracing symbols in the air. The wail grew louder, joined by a woman's sob, sharp and desperate. I saw her, then a figure in white, hovering over the well, her face hidden by long, dripping hair. Her hands clutched her swollen belly, and her cries made my chest ache. "Sam, the string," Master barked. I tightened the red string, pulling it taut from the well to the altar. The woman in white screamed, her form flickering, and the wells. Water bubbled like it was boiling. Master sprinkled cinnabar into the well, his chant growing louder. The woman lunged, her hands reaching for me, but the salt circle sparked, stopping her. "Keep ringing the bell," Master shouted. I shook it hard, the sound cutting through the air like a blade. The woman's screams turned to shrieks, her body twisting unnaturally. Then I saw it another figure, faint, standing just outside the circle. A man cloaked in black, his face hidden under a wide hat. My blood ran cold. He didn't move, just watched, his presence heavy, like a storm about to break. "Master," I yelled, pointing. He glanced over, his face palling. "Focus, Sam. That's him, the Dark Master. He's not here for us yet." I rang the bell harder, my arms aching, as Master threw grave dirt into the well. The woman in white howled, her form dissolving into black smoke that swirled into the water. The well went still, the crying stopped, and the lamps burned steady. The cloaked figure was gone, like he'd never been there. I collapsed, gasping, the bell slipping from my hands. Master checked the compass steady no and nodded. "She's gone, Sam, you did good." Mr. Gow, watching from the inn's doorway, fell to his knees, thanking us. But the master wasn't celebrating. He stared at the well, his jaw tight. "That Dark Master set this up," he said later, back at the inn. "The symbols on the well, the binding there, his work. He's using spirits like weapons, and he's got his eyes on you now." I swallowed hard. The peach would charm heavy around my neck. "Why me?" I asked, my voice small. Master puffed his pipe, his eyes distant. "You're my apprentice. Sam, you've got to spark something spirits notice, something he wants to snuff out or control. Stay sharp." The next day, we found the missing guest's necklace in the well's mud, its jade pendant cracked. Master burned it with a charm, ensuring no trace of the spirit lingered. Mr. Gow paid us well, but I barely noticed the money, the cloaked figures. Shadow loomed in my mind, a threat I couldn't shake. Back at the shop, Master handed me a new book thicker, older, its pages filled with spells to counter dark rituals. "Study hard," he said. "He's coming for us." The Skywell fire shop was starting to feel less like a sanctuary and more like a battleground. Every creak of the wooden floor, every flicker of the oil lamps, had me jumping, expecting the cloaked figure of the dark yin-yang master to step out of the shadows. Master, whose warning that this enemy was targeting me gnawed at my insides. I was only 8, still a kid who should have been playing in the streets, not fighting ghosts. But the world I'd stumbled into didn't care about that. Winter deepened, the city cloaked in frost and fog. One evening, as I swept the shop's front porch, a man staggered in, his coat tattered and his face pale as ash. His name was Mr. Yang, a bone carver who ran a small workshop in the old district. His hands trembled as he spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. "Master Who, something's wrong with my shop. The bones, they're moving. At night, I hear them rattling, like they're trying to get out. And my workers, they're seeing things. Shadows with no faces." Master set down his pipe, his eyes sharp, bones moving. "What kind do you work with?" Mr. Yang hesitated, glancing at me like he wasn't sure I should hear. "Mostly animal, cow, sheep, sometimes deer," but lately he lowered his voice. I got a batch of human bones. Anonymous supplier, good price. I thought they were old, from a medical collection. But after I started carving them, things changed. Master's face hardened. You've been carving human bones without knowing. Their source, that's asking for trouble. He turned to me. Sam, this is your lead. I'll be there, but you're calling the shots. My heart sank. Another solo job, and this one sounded worse than the last. Pack the bag, Master said. Bring the bronze bell, extra grave dirt, and the black mirror. We're dealing with something restless. I packed carefully, adding a new item Master had taught me to use. A small jade talisman etched with a binding spell. It was heavy in my hand, warm, like it held a pulse of its own. The next morning, Mr. Yang drove us to his workshop, a cramped, dimly lit building that smelled of dust and bone. The air was thick, like the place was holding its breath. My compass twitched as we stepped inside, the needle jerking toward a back room where the carving was done. Mr. Yang showed us the bones piles of them, sorted by type, some polished, others raw. A few were unmistakably human, femurs, skulls. A set of ribs, stacked like kindling. The compass went wild, and I noticed faint scratches on the human bone symbols, like the ones on the well. Master, look, I said, pointing. He nodded grimly. Ritual marks. Someone's bound spirits to these bones. This isn't an accident. Mr. Yang's eyes widened. I didn't know. I just thought they were old relics. Master ignored him, circling the room. Sam set up a circle salt, sticky rice, and cinnabar this time. We need to contain whatever's here before it gets out. I worked fast, pouring the circle around the bone pile, placing oil lamps at the corners. The workshop grew colder, the light dimming despite the morning sun outside. As night fell, Mr. Yang locked up, leaving us alone in the workshop. Master sat by the circle, chanting softly, while I clutched the jade talisman, my compass in my other hand. At midnight, it started a low rattling, like dice in a cup, coming from the bones. The human ones shifted, clattering against each other, forming shapes that shouldn't have been possible. A skeletal hand, a grinning skull, ribs curling, like fingers. My breath caught, and I gripped the talisman tighter. A shadow moved in the corner, faceless, just like Mr. Yang described. It wasn't alone. More shadows emerged, their forms vague but heavy with malice. The compass needle spun so fast it hummed. Sam, the mirror, Master shouted. I pulled out the black mirror, holding it up, its surface clouding like a storm. The shadows hissed, retreating, but the bones kept moving, assembling into a grotesque figure, a skeletal frame with a human skull, its eye sockets glowing faintly red dot. Master struck the bronze bell, the sound sharp and piercing. The bone figure staggered, but it didn't stop. It reached for me, its bony fingers scraping the air. I swung the copper coin sword, the coins clinking, and the figure flinched, its skull tilting like it was studying me. You're his apprentice. It rasped, its voice a chorus of whispers. He's watching you. My blood ran cold. The Dark Master again. Sam, the talisman, Master yelled. I pressed the jade talisman to the figure's skull, chanting the binding spell Master had drilled into me. The symbols on the talisman glowed, and the figure screamed, its bones collapsing into a heap. The shadows vanished, and the room went still, the lamps burning steady. I was shaking, sweat dripping down my face, but the compass needle slowed, pointing north. Master checked the bones, his face grim. These were tampered with, cursed to hold spirits. The Dark Master's work, no doubt. He turned to Mr. Yang, who'd crept back in, looking terrified. Burn these human bones, all of them, and find out who sold them to you. Mr. Yang nodded, promising to destroy the lot. He paid us generously, but I could tell he just wanted us gone. Back at the shop, Master was quieter than usual. He lit his pipe, staring out the window into the foggy night. "Sam, you're getting stronger," he said finally. "But this Dark Master, he's not just binding spirits. He's building something big, and you're part of it." I shivered, clutching the jade talisman. "Why me?" I asked again, hating how small my voice sounded. Master's eyes met mine, heavy with something like pity. "You've got a fate tied to this world, Sam. Spirits are drawn to you, and so is he. Keep that talisman close, it's saved your life twice now." He handed me a new book, its cover-worn leather, filled with spells for countering blood curses. "Study this. Our next job might not let you walk away." As I opened the book, a chill ran through me. The first page had a symbol I'd seen before on the well, on the bones. It was a mark of the Dark Master, and it felt like a promise of worse to come. The Skywell fire shop was cloaked in silence, the weight of the bone collector case still heavy on my shoulders. I was only 8, but the world of ghosts, curses, and Dark Masters had aged me beyond my years. The symbol from the bones set in my memory, identical to the marks on the well and the mirror, felt like a brand, a warning that the Dark Yang Master was closing in. Master whose words echoed, "You're part of it, Sam." I didn't know what it was, but I knew it wasn't good. Winter's grip tightened, the city shrouded in fog so thick it seemed to swallow sound. I studied the leather-bound bookmaster, gave me its pages dense with blood curses and counterspells, but my hands shook every time I saw that symbol. Sleep was impossible. I kept the jade talisman around my neck, its warmth the only thing grounding me. Master was quieter than ever, his pipe often unlit, his eyes scanning the shadows like he expected trouble. One night, as snow dusted the streets, the shop's door creaked open, and a figure stepped inside. He was tall, cloaked in black, his face hidden under a wide hat, the same man I'd seen at the well. My heart stopped. Master stood slowly, his hand resting on the peachwood wand at his belt. "You've got nerve showing up here," he said, his voice low but steady. The man tilted his head, revealing a face pale and sharp, his eyes glinting like polished obsidian. "Hushuo," he said, his voice smooth, almost mocking. "You've trained a fine apprentice. Young Sam has a spark I haven't seen in years." He glanced at me, and I felt like he was peeling back my skin, seeing everything I was afraid of. "I'm Wei Lian," he continued, "and I've come to offer you a choice." Master's grip on the wand tightened. "I don't make deals with men who bind spirits for sport," he spat. Wei Lian laughed, a sound that made the oil lamps flicker. "Sport? No. Who? Purpose. The world's balance is breaking, and I'm restoring it. Your boy, here he's key. His fate's tied to the spirits, stronger than yours ever was. Join me, or I'll take him." I clutched the jade talisman, my mouth dry. Master stepped between us, his voice like iron. "You're not touching him. Sam, get the black box." I scrambled to the back, grabbing the lacquered box we used for cursed objects, my compass spinning wildly in my pocket. When I returned, Wei Lian was closer, his presence suffocating. Master was chanting softly, drawing symbols in the air with his wand. "Sam, open the box," Master said, not taking his eyes off Walian. I did, and he tossed a handful of grave dirt inside, followed by a red paper charm. "You've been binding spirits to objects, mirrors, wells, bones," Master said. "But you've made a mistake. You left your mark, and I've traced it back to you." He pulled a small clay figure from his sleeve, etched with the same symbol I'd seen everywhere. "This is your anchor, Wei. Your soul's tied to it." Wei Lian's smile faltered, his eyes narrowing. "You're clever, who, but not clever enough." He raised a hand, and the air screamed, shadows coalescing into forms ghosts, their faces twisted with pain. The girl in the red skirt, the woman in white, the bone figure, they were all there, bound to him. I rang the bronze bell, its sound cutting through the chaos, and the ghosts flinched. But Wei Lian did and single quotes, to Master threw the clay figure into the box, chanting louder, and slammed it shut, sealing it with a cinnabar-soaked string. The ghosts screamed, their forms dissolving into black smoke that funneled into the box. Wei Lian staggered, clutching his chest, his face twisting with rage. "You can't hold me," he roared, lunging at Master. I swung the copper coin sword, the coins clinking, and it caught Wei Lian's arm, sparking like it hit metal. He hissed, pulling back, his eyes locking onto me. "Sam, the talisman," Master shouted. I pressed the jade talisman to the box, reciting the binding spell, my voice shaking but steady. The symbols on the talisman glowed, and the box rattled, like something was fighting to get out. Wei Lian's form flickered, his cloak fraying into smoke. "This isn't over," he snarled, his voice fading. "I'll find you, boy." With a final scream, he collapsed into a swirl of black ash, vanishing into the box. The shop went silent, the lamps burning steady, my compass still. I collapsed, gasping, the talisman hot against my palm. Master knelt beside me, his face lined with exhaustion. "You did it, Sam," he said, his voice soft. "You bound him." I shook my head, tears stinging my eyes. "Is he gone?" Master sighed, looking older than ever. "For now, his soul's trapped, but men like Wei Lian don't stay down forever. We've bought time, that's all." We burned the box the next dawn, scattering its ashes in a river far from the city, under a protective ritual so strong it took hours. The ghosts Wei Lian had bound were free, their cries fading into the wind. The shop felt lighter, but I knew the Dark Master's shadow would linger in my dreams. Master closed the shop for a week, saying we needed rest, but I caught him carving new charms late at night. His hands steady, but his eyes haunted. Months passed, and life settled into a strange normal. I studied harder, learning spells to shield my fate, to hide from spirits and men like Wei Lian. Master taught me to carve my own talismans, to read the stars for omens. The city thawed, spring bringing warmth to the streets, but I never forgot the cold of that winter. I was still a kid, but I'd faced death and won for now. One evening, as I swept the shop, Master called me over. He handed me a new book, its pages blank. "Write your own spells, Sam," he said, a rare smile tugging at his lips. "You're not just my apprentice anymore. You're a yin-yang master in your own right." I took the book, my chest tight with pride and fear. The world was full of shadows, but I'd learned to fight them. I never saw Wei Lian again, but I felt him sometimes, a chill in the air, a flicker in my compass. Master said he'd return one day, when my fate grew stronger, but I wasn't afraid anymore. I had the Skywell Fire Shop, Master Who, and the spark in my soul that even a dark master couldn't snuff out. Whatever came next, I was ready.